Welcome back to Daytime Ottawa. Well, lots of great performances are returning to the city, including to the Shankman Arts Centre. And this Friday, Michael Kaeshammer will be making a stop on his coast-to-coast tour. And before we catch up with him, let me give you a little snippet, a little taste of what you can expect. Here's a portion of his song called Shura.
You gotta wake up early in the morning. You gotta stay out all night long. Still won't catch up, plus I got a warning. I got a feeling that you wanna do me wrong. Like a ball of lightning, like a ball of heat. You wanna knock me right off my feet. I realize you're the eyes of a fool, and that you got the power to make your own rules. Shura, shura, I hear you coming. Shura, shura, you won't catch me. Shura, shura, I hear you humming. Shura, shura, you won't catch me.
As I said, just a little taste. And Michael Kaeshammer joining us on the show now. Welcome, Michael. How are you doing? How's the tour going so far?
It's been a great trip so far. We've only been out for a week, but it's awesome.
And is this your biggest tour to date, Michael? Where is it taking you?
Yeah, we're going coast to coast. This is East Coast to West Coast, and it's the biggest one in Canada I've done so far.
For people that aren't familiar with you, tell us a little bit about how you got into music and in particular playing piano.
It all came from my dad. My dad played a lot of ragtime and rock and roll piano when I was a kid, and he showed me a lot of things when I was 5, 6 years old. And then I went through the usual conservatory for a few years playing classical music, but it was this boogie-woogie and rock and roll piano style that always kind of had a hold on me, I guess.
You released the Warehouse Sessions back in October of this year. What was that like? Yeah. Did you record that during the pandemic, Michael? And what was that like?
We actually recorded it right before the pandemic, okay. But this particular album wasn't going to be released. We just met at the Warehouse studio in Vancouver, and we recorded in the morning, let the tape run, and stopped it in the evening. And I just did it as an experience with the band. But then during the pandemic, I had all this extra time, and I listened to the tracks, and I thought, people should hear this. So I just edited all the bad stuff out and released it.
Well, and it must have been, I know how much you love live performance. It must have been difficult, not being able to engage with audiences. Just tell me about that experience, being back in front of a live audience. What's that been like for you and the entire band?
Well, connecting with an audience is kind of what it's all about for me. It was great to have extra time during the pandemic to work on projects I wouldn't have had time to do otherwise. But now being back on stage, I mean, this is what I do. I love music. I love playing piano at home for myself. But this connection, for me, the music is just like a vehicle to get everyone in the same room. And then what you do with it is what music is all about. So it's more about the emotion and the feeling, and that you can't get without a live audience.
A lot of musicians like to connect and, sort of speaking to the audience. How do you interact with the audience during your performances?
Well, sometimes I talk too much. I love talking to them. I feel so comfortable on stage. I feel more comfortable on stage than doing most other things. And so I love talking to them. I love making them a part of the show. I keep the band a little bit on edge. I give the band the first 2 songs of the show, and then I tell them I'll just call the tunes as we go to see where the audience wants to go as well. And so everyone becomes connected through that. And then sometimes I go sit out in the audience and watch the band myself.
I love that. And that's very unique, right? Because I think for most artists and most performers, they usually have a set list and they go by the set list. That is certainly something I haven't heard from a musician before. That exceptionally unique.
Yeah, I think it's, the whole point is about being in the moment. And the music, like I said, is the vehicle to get you there. And, you're on stage, the lights are out in the audience. Obviously, there's this performer-audience thing. But if you can go through that and just make everyone be in the same room, then you really get to a deeper meaning of the whole thing.
I understand that you have another album coming out March of next year. Tell me about that album.
Yes.
What can people expect?
This one's a little more thought through than the last one. So this is one I reconnected with a friend of mine from Toronto, great producer by the name of Ron Lapata, and I wrote a bunch of songs during the pandemic, and he is a very contemporary pop producer, and so he kind of packaged my piano style and my singing into something a little more current. And they're all original tunes, and they'll come out in March, and it's called Turn It Up.
This is another unique thing that you did. I understand you recorded a cooking show with Randy Bachman. Tell me how that came about, and what did you guys prepare?
Well, the idea of the show came because I love cooking as much as I love music.
Really?
So it's the same level of passion for me.
Wow.
So the idea came during the pandemic when you have extra time to work on projects, and I thought, let's connect music and food somehow. Randy doesn't live too far away, and he's been a friend for a long time. So for the pilot that we shot, I thought, let's get Randy to come over, and we cooked bolognese. We made pasta from scratch. We cooked bolognese, and we played Taking Care of Business.
I love it. Well, and you mentioned, music came from family. It was your love of food again. Was that from family as well growing up?
My mom always cooked when I was a kid, but it really came from eating bad food on the road. Really?
Yeah.
I'm a foodie, and you find a lot of great restaurants, but you really have to look for them on the road, and it's important to stay healthy on the road. So you want to stay away from processed food, which isn't always easy, and that's really what got me into making everything from scratch.
Michael, looking forward to your show here in Ottawa. Thanks so much for joining us again. The Shankman Art Center this Friday.